Blaze a New Trail online, and we're celebrating Older Americans Month this May. And we'll move now for a little introduction to the system, and Ben Bruno will take you through a little introduction of some of the platforms if you're not familiar with WebEx.
Thank you so much, Steve. So I just want to go over on how to participate today. You'll notice that we're using the audio broadcast feature. People have been talking about that in the chat. So that means that only the panelists are able to speak, but we'd still love to hear from you. So the way to do that is to use the chat box. And the chat box should appear on the right side of your screen. But if you don't see it, please try to look at the top right area of your screen. If you have a Mac, it might be in the bottom right. And you want to click the chat speech bubble icon, and that will toggle that window on and off. And then when you send a chat, I want you to make sure that you send to all participants. I've just highlighted it, what it looks like on the right side of your screen. I just highlighted it on the slide, and so you want to make sure that sends to window is set to all participants. That means everyone can read your chats and see your comments and questions. If you do have a tech issue, you can send a private chat to me, and that's just fine. Also, at some point in the webinar, we're going to use the feedback button, and you should also see that on the right side of your screen. It should be somewhere under your name and the list of the panelist names. It looks like this. I just highlighted it on the slide, and once you click that button, you can indicate whether you'd like to answer. It drops down, and you can indicate whether you'd like to answer yes or no. We'll also have a poll later on, but I'll talk about how to respond to that. It should pop up on the right side of your screen, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. But for now, I'd love to hand things off to Heidi. Thank you all so much.
Hello, my name is Heidi Silver-Picola. I'm from the U.S. Department of Education, the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education. And I'm very pleased to be able to welcome you today and have so many people online with us to talk about blazing a new trail for seniors online. I'm joined today by many fine colleagues in the federal government, and I'm going to introduce them now. Christina Miranda from the Federal Trade Commission, Diana Coho from the Federal Communications Commission, Chike Agu, who is from the nonprofit Everyone On, Sandra Toro from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, Steve Kwan, who just introduced himself from World Education, and Gwen Weaver from the Department of Commerce, the National Telecommunications Information Administration. So we'll hear from many people today, and we'll talk you through sort of the why, how, and where to get folks online, and I hope that you will find some resources that will be helpful in your community. I browsed through the registration participant list, and we have folks on from libraries and housing authorities, adult ed programs, community literacy programs, senior centers, and senior service organizations. So wonderful to have such a diverse crowd today. And feel free to type in your affiliation into the chat as I continue on. I'd like to know where folks are from. So the first question that we're asking you is, are you teaching digital literacy to seniors? Please use the feedback button that Ben told us about. It's on my very right side of my screen near a red exclamation mark. It's a bubble with a check mark in it. Give us a check, yes or no, if you are teaching digital literacy to seniors. And so since I'm using a term here, I wanted to put up a definition of what digital literacy is. This one is from the Museum and Library Services Act. The skills associated with using technology to enable users to find, evaluate, organize, create, and communicate information. So just about anything you'd like to do with information online is part of digital literacy. So thank you for putting in your affiliations, and keep responses coming. This is a yes or no that you can respond to with the little chat bubble with a check mark in it. So why are you all and why are we here talking about why should we get seniors online? Well, as you saw from the definition, there are so many reasons to do it, including locating information, understanding what you find, organizing, evaluating, and creating information. All of this is part of getting seniors online, part of being in the online world. There's also reasons to get online to achieve your goals. There are many goals that seniors can pursue and achieve with the help of online resources. This wonderful image here is of Columbia University custodian Jack Falapid, who earned his degree while working as a janitor at the school. As we say, never too old to learn, never too old to teach, and never too old to play. So really helping people achieve their goals no matter what their age is. Most of you are online with us today because you know this already, and we hope we'll be able to put some resources that you'll put them to good use in your communities with seniors and with others. This slide is showing that 6 out of 10 seniors are online. It's a chart from the 2014 Pew Internet Report. And look at the increase of seniors using the Internet between 2000 and 2013. It's up to 59% from 14%. This is amazing growth, and it's thanks to many senior-serving organizations and volunteers like you all. So kudos to everyone online now with us. You've been working hard. You can see that the seniors as a group have not adopted the Internet to the same degree as all adults, but the gap is closing. Use of the Internet is increasing, especially among seniors who are younger, wealthier, and more educated. However, if 6 out of 10 are going online, that means 4 out of 10 are not. And in fact, 40% of seniors do not use the Internet at all. Usually, we find this behavior in older, lower income, and lower educated seniors. Many seniors face physical and learning challenges with technology that are barriers to adoption, and less than 20% of seniors own a smartphone that would give them mobile access. So why do many seniors not use the Internet? 3 of the top barriers given by seniors are lack of relevance. They just don't see what they'll get out of it. Lack of access. Either they don't have Internet at home or at a convenient location, or there are physical or sensory barriers. And cost. Home Internet access may just not be affordable for many low-income households. And maybe you have heard the seniors you work with give these same reasons. So the resources we're going to share today may help you overcome those barriers in your communities. Let's look at relevance. Why go online? What can you tell seniors that you're working with? You go online because that's where the information and friends are, right? You can communicate with family and friends, share and see photos, read for pleasure, engage in community news and find local, civic, house of worship, senior-focused events. You can access services such as taxes, libraries, online banking, veterans and Social Security benefits. You can conduct health care by accessing electronic medical charts, emails to doctors, research medical information and health insurance for yourself and others. Stay safe with emergency preparedness and weather alerts. So many reasons to help seniors see why they should go online. And talking about accessibility, other presenters will talk about where to get online, including low-cost home options and public access sites. But here I wanted to mention some of the accessibility features that can assist with sensory and functional impairments. Those of you working with seniors can help them learn how to adjust the font size on the screen and zoom in to help them address their vision issues, have websites and documents read aloud, and help them learn how to find the captions and transcripts for videos. Help them increase the size and slow down the reactivity of the cursor and the mouse to assist with mobility and coordination, especially at the beginning. That's very helpful. and address the inevitable frustration of getting lost in cyberspace or the fear of breaking the computer. And to address affordability, you'll hear several options today for public access and low-cost internet solutions that help address the affordability issue faced by seniors, especially those who are lower income. So we're pleased you're with us, and we hope the resources will help you help seniors blaze a new trail online. And I am going to pass it off now to my colleague, Christina from the FTC.
Thank you so much, Heidi. The FTC has a wealth of resources to help connect older people to lifelong learning opportunities, whether it be about digital literacy or even other topics like avoiding fraud and scams, especially online. So Pass It On, as you see here, is one of the FTC's main campaigns, and it's aimed at active older adults who have had vast life experiences and also are pretty well connected with their friends and their families and in their community. And the campaign approaches getting the message out to older people in a very new and different way. It focuses on the positive, and it makes the audience the part of the solution rather than telling them that they're part of the problem. So Pass It On reinforces what older people already know about some of the scams in circulation, and it gives them the tools to start the conversation with their friends, families, neighbors, and it asks them to pass on the information about, for example, healthcare scams, paying too much, you've won scams, identity theft, imposter scams, and charity fraud. Now, all this is available for free at ftc.gov/passiton. We recently added 4 other scams to Pass It On a newly created ftc.gov/passiton-imposters one-stop page. These include, let me see if I get this. These include tech support scams, IRS imposter scams, grandkid scams, and online dating scams. The articles, again, are easy to read, and they go straight to the point in explaining how each scam works. And again, these new articles also encourage older people to pass this information on to friends and family, especially since they are seen as experienced, trusted advisors that can help empower other people with their knowledge. So this is, on this page, this explains what you can download and use when you visit ftc.gov Pass It On. We've heard, for example, when we did focus groups in developing this campaign, that some groups like activities and we know that some don't. So we put some word games on the website, and they're not necessarily easy, but they're really, really great to use. We also have a video that gives a look to the campaign and how it explains how easy it is to pass on a lot of this information that we're talking about. There are also 10-minute PowerPoint presentations for each topic for the person, for example, who's really into it and wants to go to, for example, a library to talk or to talk about the campaign. And there's also a sample press release for any group that wants to take this campaign as their own, as well as tweets and even Facebook posts if you're socially media inclined. Being that this webinar's main focus is about digital literacy, I do want to point out that Pass It On does focus on 2 online safety topics for older people, and that would be the tech support scams and online dating scams. Now, the tech support scam warns older people about getting a call from someone saying they're a computer technician from a well-known company like Microsoft or their internet service provider. And that person tells you that there are viruses or other malware on your computer and that they need to remote access to your computer to buy new software to fix it. And the scam then says what you can do to avoid this type of scam, like hanging up if they call, and to never give control of your computer or credit card number to someone who calls you out of the blue. Now, the online dating scam, which we are seeing among a lot of older people, is about meeting someone special on a dating website. Scammers from online dating sites often want to move off the dating site to email and exchange phone calls. And the scammer will also tell a person that they love them, but that they live far away and maybe for business or because they're in the military. And then the scammer asks them for money for a plane ticket to visit or emergency surgery or something else that sounds really urgent. So the scam talks about fake dating profiles and warns older people not to wire money or put money on a prepaid debit card or send cash to an online love interest. Again, these are all available to download at ftc.gov/passitonImposters. So in addition to Pass It On, the FTC has numerous other articles available at consumer.ftc.gov to help people be safe online while protecting their computers, their personal information, and online files. So here's just a sample of some of the available articles that we have, such as like what to do when your email has been hacked, phishing scams, or overall laptop security. And here are some more links, such as understanding mobile apps, using cameras safely, or even tips about using Wi-Fi networks. So again, all these are available at consumer.ftc.gov. So again, here's where to find Pass It On materials both in English and in Spanish, as well as where to order. For example, we have one-page flyers to give out at events to family and friends. Like all Federal Trade Commission materials, Pass It On is completely free and in the public domain. You can order copies at ftc.gov/bulk order. You can even grab a video at ftc.gov/passiton and put it on your website. You can print or use any of the activities that we have on that site, or repurpose or reuse the materials in your own newsletters or publications. So if you have any questions about Pass It On or other FTC materials, please post your questions in the chat window so we can answer some of them. And I believe we're going to post also a quick poll, as we'd like to have your thoughts on, a few of these scams that are affecting older people. And I'll try to comment on the poll results once it closes. And now I think I'm going to pass this presentation on to Diana Cobb from the FCC. Thank you so much.
And happy Older Americans Month. We really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this, and thanks to all our partners and the participants out there. We also have a lot of resources for consumers about telecommunications-related issues, but today I'm going to be talking about the Lifeline program. So what is the Lifeline program? It was created in the mid-'80s, and that was basically to provide voice support for telephone service. That was the need at the time, and it has been updated to keep up with changing technology, since that time. Today we're going to hear a little bit more about some of those changes and some new reforms that will be taking effect in the not too distant future. So thanks for joining. And basically, the program was set up for low-income Americans. So it still focuses on that, and as Heidi and some of the others mentioned, affordability is one of the key reasons why older Americans are not getting online at the same rate as the rest of the population. So there's two ways to qualify. Basically, there are a list of programs that are based on income. So if people are already enrolled in one of these low-income programs, then they're eligible for this benefit. The other way is just a straight sort of income verification, and we'll talk a little more about that. The other thing to bear in mind is that the discount is $9.25 a month. That's currently in effect, and that will remain the same for the foreseeable future. Anyway, there's no plans to change the dollar amount. Who's participating in Lifeline? Well, basically, as I mentioned, low income, but it is important to realize that some of these folks live in urban areas, some are in rural areas, and everywhere in between. Some of the other groups listed here, like older Americans, some of the others are sort of disproportionately represented in some of the low-income areas, and or have other needs that we take into account when we try to do outreach to inform people about this exciting program. So there's a lot going on, and today's event is one example. So to get a little bit further into what's new and exciting, we had a historic vote at the end of March, and for the first time ever, this benefit will now be eligible to apply to broadband access. So 1985 telephone, since 1985 to this point, it's been evolving and changing and trying to follow the trends with technology and so on and so forth. But now we are full on establishing eligibility for broadband access. Another thing we'll be hearing more about is minimum standards. So we want robust access. We want technology that people can use to keep current with the same types of needs that everyone else is using. Eligibility and recertification requirements and program reforms, some of them started like in 2012, and those are being continued just to basically say that every year people recertify that they still are in those thresholds and the program requirements that they're eligible for the benefit to continue. So standalone, mobile, fixed broadband, a lot of people are cutting the landline or accessing on the go, as Heidi mentioned, and the program has been moving in that direction to try and meet people's needs and also bridge that homework gap. Here's a little outline of what's to come, and as you can see, some of these standards are being ramped up or phased in over the next few years. Voice support is still part of the program, but again, to try and keep pace with changing times and provide the services that people need the most, it's anticipated that the need for voice-only service will be fading over time. So eventually this could go away, but there are plans in place to revisit this issue in the next few years to see where things are going and see if these plans still make sense or if they need to adjust or make tweaks based on the market and where people's needs are being met or need to be met. So we'll be seeing a new Lifeline marketplace. And basically what that says is that we are trying to stay flexible, we're trying to balance people's needs with the changes in the marketplace, trying to avoid undue burden, and try to keep service providers able to innovate and move forward. So trying not to be too specific in what can or cannot be done so that people aren't tethered to old antiquated equipment or technologies, but rather it's flexible and mobile and moving forward. There will be a new type of provider called the Lifeline broadband provider, because remember, it started with telephone service and phone providers. And then also there will be a national eligibility verifier. So what does that mean? Basically, when people are trying to say, hey, I'm eligible for Lifeline and I want this service, I want this benefit rather, there were people signing up through all sorts of various providers, through phone companies, through different types of agencies that administered some of the low-income programs, and it became burdensome and difficult for people if they changed plans or changed providers. And so basically we're trying to centralize that, make it a single function, make it easier on the private sector so they're not involved in this and they can focus on other things, and keep the recertification going smoothly for that annual check where people verify that they're still eligible. So eligibility, like before, there's sort of a two-pronged approach. People are eligible either because they participate in a low-income program or because they are certifying that their income is at or below a certain level. So the approach is the same. What's going to be changing over time is the actual list of programs. So the programs that we'll be seeing, for example, there's a new emphasis on veterans, the public housing assistance. Some of these other programs will be coming online in the future, and some of the other programs may be dropping off that people originally signed on with. So it's important to know they will be changing, but the current rules are still in effect, and this change has not occurred yet. The poverty guideline is the same, so 135% or less, and that will still be in effect over time. The tribal assistance programs for those that work with tribal members will be staying the same. So they have some different programs that are administered on tribal lands, and that's kind of a separate area, but there won't be any changes there. So even though Lifeline is clearly geared toward the cost barrier, there is definitely acknowledgement that there are non-cost barriers, which Heidi laid out and some others will be on today's call. The relevance, the privacy, people concerned about their personally identifiable information, identity theft, things along those lines, and digital literacy. So I listed some of our partners here who you'll be hearing from more in the webinar. But I also wanted to just let everyone know that the order does call for what's called a digital inclusion plan, and we will be getting input from various stakeholders and folks like yourselves that work at the local level to try and see what are the best practices, not only for getting people online, but for those who are online, and that's kind of the last bullet on this slide. There are people that are online now, but they may not be doing everything that they could be doing. So how do we keep people knowledgeable, current, and up to date? That's another factor that's kind of included here in what we call the digital readiness gap. The order did specifically refer to seniors, so I wanted to let everyone know that that's in the forefront of our minds, and that we are definitely curious and interested in your input. So this is the website that will be updated frequently, and we'll have all the latest information as these new changes come about and that you want to visit and touch base on, as often as you can. So thank you so much for this opportunity. We have guides. I also want to say that the information on Lifeline is also available in Spanish on that site. So we do have in-language materials there. And if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to send me an email or I'll watch the chat box on today's call. So thank you again, and without further ado, I will pass the baton to Chike with everyone on. Thank you so much.
Oh, hello, good afternoon. This is Chike from Everyone On. Thank you so much for having me today, as well as having this webinar, which I think is so important. We're going to talk about today really kind of the very front-end part of this, which is to make sure that we have seniors who are digitally literate and full digital citizens. They need to be online first. So I want to talk to you about our work and potentially resources that we have that will make it easier for more seniors to be online. So Everyone On is a national nonprofit. We were founded in 2012 through beginning an effort from the FCC. And really, we are a national nonprofit that's dedicated to closing the digital divide. Very simply, we believe that no matter who you are, or where you live, or what your parents make, you should have access to the internet and the opportunity it brings. And what we've seen through our work is that when you make the internet accessible, when you make it affordable, people adopt it and their lives are changed. And that's true for older Americans, younger Americans, but I think it's particularly poignant during this particularly celebratory month. So I want to talk to you about how we do that and the results that we've seen so far. So if you look at the slide, we achieve closing that digital divide really in a three-part model. First, we work to create affordable offers, meaning the biggest barrier to folks being online today is cost. You have 42 million Americans, the 64 million who are unconnected, who have an offer available to them, but they can't afford it. So we work with internet service providers like Sprint, Comcast, Google Fiber, and pretty much any other one that you can name to create offers that folks can afford. And they are usually around $10 a month. Some are a little above, some are a little below. If you move to the second part of the model, we have this easy access digital platform so that folks can text us, call us, email us, go on our website if they have access to a computer outside the home, and they can go on, put in their zip code, answer a few basic questions, and they can see what offers are available to them and sign up really quickly in under half an hour. And then lastly, we have on-the-ground people and partners. And basically what these folks are doing is meeting folks at their homes, at the grocery store, at the school, at church, meeting families where they are, meeting citizens where they are, so that we can get them signed up. And particularly what we find for older Americans, it's really important to be approached about internet service and digital literacy and training from someone who you know, someone whom you trust. Using the model that I've described, we've been able to connect almost 200,000 low-income families in 48 states since 2012. We're very proud of that fact, but we want to do even more, and it's particularly why we are participating today. So just going forward, I'll go through this quickly, but these are some of the partners that we work with, again, Sprint, Cox Communications, Google Fiber, and really what we find is across the country, we're doing the partners, particularly on the internet side, who you work with will be different just because of how these companies are spread out. So if you look at the digital divide, you have right now about varying between 20 and 25% of Americans who don't have access to the internet at home. If you look at directly at seniors, you have 21% of low-income seniors without access to the internet at home. That's nearly 1 in 5, which is a situation that we really want to turn around. Most older adults say they need assistance prior to using the technology device, meaning that training is really important to help get them online. And then lastly, that going back to cost of the actual device, being a laptop or a tablet or of internet service, is definitely a barrier, and we want to help seniors overcome that. So you've heard a lot about the benefit of connectivity from some of the prior presenters, but I won't belabor them, but I will go through. This reduces isolation. Again, one of the dangerous times for seniors is that as they get older, they become more isolated, and the internet is a great way to counteract that. Having access to health resources on the spot, whether that be electronic medical records, electronic health resources, and things like that, that's going to be very, very important. And then lastly, many resources just in general, whether it be for benefits, for banking, for education, are also moving online. So it's really, really important that seniors are online as well so that they can take advantage. We've been working with the Adult Education Office since our very founding, and it's so important that, again, you are, as someone said, you are never too old or too young to learn, work, or play, and we always want to make sure that we are helping get seniors online so we can provide them with the resources to do that. So let's get to, if you were a senior and you wanted to use our resources to get access to internet service, how could you do that? So the question is, how do you qualify for our offers? Again, there are actually a number of ways to do this. You can live in the zip code where the annual median income is less than $35,000, or you can be served by one of our 300 enrollment partner organizations who are across the country. These are folks like the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, Best Buy. So those are two ways that folks can qualify for the offers that we have available. And the way that you would start is that anyone in the U.S. can go to everyoneon.org, or they can text CONNECT to 21545 and discover low-cost internet service devices, free computers, and internet training at over 8,000 sites across the country. And literally, if you went to our website, you would see this page, and you would see a spot for you to be able to, and you would see a spot where you'd be able to put in your zip code and begin to see what offers are available to you. Once you do that, you would get a return result back that would show you what offers are available in your local area, and you'd be able to enroll online by clicking on the Enroll Online button there. Not only would you be able to get recommendations for internet service, you'd also be able to get results and recommendations for training. So again, if you see here, you would also be recommended computer offers that you might be able to buy. And then also helping folks find resources and courses on training that are close to them that they could go to, usually through a network of schools, libraries, community centers, again, offering that digital literacy training that's so important. And then we have a number of offers that are available, but I want to talk about one really quickly that just came online this past month. It's from AT&T. It's a low-cost offer of very high quality speeds, which we're going to do here, but about $10 a month. And for any senior who is on SNAP benefits, so that's what we colloquially call food stamps, you would be able to access this offer. And this is an offer available in 21 states across the country. And so if you went to our page and put in your zip code, you would see if that offer was available to you. And then again, the qualifying households are folks who are on SNAP, and it's going to be available for the next 4 years, and we hope potentially beyond. So I want to end there, but I want to thank everyone for listening and really look forward to working with this group and this organization to help close that digital divide, particularly for our senior citizens. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Sandy to take us forward.
Thank you. It's an honor to be able to talk to you a little bit today about the WHERE. I'm Sandy Toro. I'm a program officer at the Institute of Museum and Library Services, and I'll be talking a little bit about the key public access site of libraries and share some information about how libraries are engaging and serving the needs of older adults with the goal that you might be able to learn from these efforts, and perhaps these different initiatives can serve as models for you, regardless of the type of organization in which you work. And I just wanted to ask quickly if people could let me know through the poll if you are working directly with a library at the current time. So you can click on the little bubble with the check mark and either click yes or no. Okay, so far I'm seeing it's mostly no's. So thank you for answering that question. So I'll tell you a little bit about the landscape of libraries and library services. Currently, there are about 123,000 libraries that serve about 170 million visitors. And visitors go to the library to build their knowledge and increase their literacy. And those can be media-related literacies or health literacy, financial literacy, or civic literacy. People also go to the library to increase what are called 21st century skills, which often have to do with problem solving and different kinds of critical thinking. So library staff reach out to visitors in a number of ways, including by using spaces like maker spaces where people can engage in hands-on activities, and also by developing and delivering different kinds of materials, resources, and programs to help learners of all ages. And librarians use a variety of approaches and different kinds of methods to help close the digital divide that some of the previous speakers have already referenced. So I'd like to focus a little bit on public libraries, which are the kinds of libraries that seniors are most likely to use. And there are around 17,000 public libraries in the U.S. that you can reach out to. Public libraries are community-based institutions that provide different kinds of learning opportunities and resources. And going back to 2013, which is the latest data we have, we were able to identify almost 500 libraries in cities, over 2,300 in suburbs, over 2,200 in towns, and over 4,000 in rural areas. So the majority of public libraries serve populations of fewer than 25,000 people. And we were able to find out that over 330 million user sessions were logged on public access computer terminals, which is a startling figure. So in terms of adult learners, including seniors, adult learners go to the library, as has been mentioned, to build their digital literacy, including their cognitive and other skills. They take classes on reading and math, classes to learn English, citizenship classes, and also participate in programs to find out about healthcare and accessing information about wellness, as well as to get information about how to get a job or how to get a better job. And librarians provide literacy instructions through informal discussions focused on different topics, through things like GED workshops and institutes, and through conversation circles for people with limited English-speaking skills. Librarians also share software for practicing speaking and writing English, along with other tools and resources with adult educators who work in other settings. And senior citizens in particular work frequently with librarians to access the internet so that they can connect with family and friends, build their digital literacy, and also get the information they need about government and other kinds of services. And I see a question in the chat about the poll, and there wasn't an official poll question. I just asked the question if you're working with a library, and you could click yes or no by clicking on the bubble with the check mark. So I'm sorry about any confusion. So just talking for a second about senior library usage, close to 2/3 of seniors reported using libraries in the last 12 months, though men were more likely to have visited than women. And seniors are frequent library visitors, with almost half reporting that they visit libraries at least once a week. While the majority of seniors reported using library computers to access library resources, only 1/4 used library computers to access the internet. A great number of projects that we fund through our Grants to States program document programs that serve older adults, and this happens in approximately 21 states, so serving over 4 million people. So I've talked a little bit about public libraries in terms of they're playing a critical role in providing valuable resources such as access to the internet and computers. And we also have library associations. Libraries may be familiar with organizations like ALA, which is the American Library Association. That's the largest library association in the world, and it has over 10 divisions that serve different needs and groups of people. Another organization is WebJunction, which is an online learning community for librarians, but it's open to everyone and it's free, so you can go online and access different materials that librarians have developed to help serve the needs of particular groups like older adults and seniors. On the left, you see a link to a toolkit called Keys to Engaging Older Adults at Your Library. So this was a toolkit created by ALA to respond to the concerns of librarians providing services to growing numbers of older adults in their communities. And there's some really great definitions of key terms like independent versus assisted living. There are tools to help find funding for programs. There's information about how to measure success in terms of evaluating your different programmatic efforts with seniors and older adults. There's information about model programs across the country, such as at the Alameda County Library in California or the Brooklyn Public Library in New York. And there are also resources for further reading and programming tools, as well as contact information for ALA's Office for Literacy and Outreach Services that you can reach out to. In the WebJunction screenshot on the right, when you go into the site, you can access sample senior program information, and also different ideas for ways that you can serve older adults, and there are discussions about challenges and opportunities when working with older populations, as well as results from research studies with recommendations. In addition, I wanted to share some links to a couple of sample resources. So one is from the Alulike Native Hawaiian Library, which completed a needs assessment to try to improve access to library and literacy services for their community, increase awareness of the library, and try to assist with the documentation of genealogy. So they expanded their services to both traditional and digital library materials, which other organizations have found is key to helping seniors. They developed learning boxes based on different themes and promoted them through creative outreach programming. And they assisted elders and children to develop culturally based and family-centered reading programs and develop longer-term plans. So we've seen this in other institutions that including seniors means including multiple family members in many cases. Another resource, in addition to the sample needs assessment that you can take a look at from Alulike, is a sample toolkit from Lifetime Arts. And this is used by the Westchester Library System with the goal of improving, expanding, and sustaining creative aging programs in public libraries and to position libraries as community cornerstones for positive aging. So the Westchester Library System builds on Lifetime Arts' model of capacity building to help up to 150 librarians receive training and technical assistance and participate in a peer network so that they could get support to implement programs in their communities. And you can check out the toolkit that they developed for more information about aging in libraries, to get access about creative aging research and some sample best practices in the field. If you look at specifically the access section in the toolkit, there is a variety of media and content, including audio, blogs, reports, and video. For example, there's a great video on libraries and baby boomers called Transforming Life After 50, Boomers to Seniors, Library Models for Serving and Engaging Older Adults. And again, I'm hoping that some of these resources, even though they're library specific, can help you regardless of the organization in which you work. And in your communities if you want to send me an email or otherwise reach out to me. So thank you very much, and now I will pass it on to Steve Kwan.
Well, thank you very much, Sandy. I'd like to first introduce myself again. Some of you came on a little late. My name is Steve Kwan. I'm the director of the Educational Technology Center at World Education. And I'm here with Ben Bruno because we are working with the Department of Education, particularly LINCS, which is a professional development center. There are 4 of them in the country, and we had one of them. And talking today at this point about the question, what technical assistance is there for service providers who work with seniors? Well, here we have a page which we call the Digital Literacy Initiative page. The U.S. Department of Education, the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education, OCTAE, and LINCS funds the digital literacy initiatives here to enable adult learners to succeed in a range of academic activities. The initiatives listed here on the page enhance the integration of technology into instruction, increase student access to technology, and leverage learning outside the classroom. And these resources are not only for teachers and programs and tutors, but are also for adult learners. So I'll show you one of the resources. Here's a great resource from Links. Adult learners can use America's Digital Literacy Directory. It allows users to find local adult literacy programs in the U.S. and includes literacy programs for adults looking for basic adult education, English as a second language, adult secondary language, and of course, digital literacy. Another resource for adults is the brand new Learner Center. This lists free resources for adult learners, helping them to learn English and read, improve their reading and math, explore jobs and new careers. And students can also learn more, of course, about their skills in digital literacy. So there's a couple of sites that I'll highlight here for you. And one is Digital Learn, and as you might expect, Digital Learn is a resource that provides tutorials on some basic digital literacy skills. And the other is North Star. It is a program that can help adult learners and teachers and programs to assess what computer skills are needed for adults to move on and to use computers in many different ways. So I would like to mention that these were funded from the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, as well as some other libraries and other funders. But I thought I would throw in a pitch since Sandy Toro has talked about IMLS and thank them for that funding. Some of the other resources here on the Digital Literacy Initiative page is for teachers and programs. These resources help support educators in providing internet access and to improve digital literacy skills for adult learners. For example, there was a great webinar that was hosted and is now on the Links YouTube channel where Tech Goes Home. It's an organization in Boston that provides seniors with the tools and education and access. And they shared how they helped disconnected seniors get connected. And I love one of the examples they gave where there was a 23-year-old participant that they helped learn to video chat so she could communicate with her grandkids in Georgia. Other resources there's multiple ones, but educators, computer teachers might enjoy reading the Office of Educational Technology's National Technology Plan and their vision for how technology can be used in instruction. And you can also download lesson ideas and how to help adults improve their digital literacy skills by helping them work on project-based activities and those projects that are relevant to their own specific needs as seniors. So I'd like to feel free to ask any questions that you may have, but I'm now going to pass on to Gwen Weaver, and she'll help to continue the answer. What technical assistance is there for service providers? And Gwen, let me pass you the ball here. There you go.
Thank you, Steve. Excuse me. Good afternoon, everyone. And I looked at the list of people online, and some of you know me already. Anyway, my name is Gwen Weaver, and I am a Senior Communications Program Specialist at the National Telecommunications and Information Administration in the Department of Commerce, and we're also called Broadband USA. And I'm kind of one step before the wrap-up of this whole thing, as you will see, because my colleagues and I are all pretty much on the same page in terms of trying to provide you with information and technical support for you to be able to assist older adults in becoming much more digitally literate and or using technology. So I'm starting with the fact that I'm, as I said, part of NTIA and a group called Broadband USA. And what we are doing is trying to increase broadband access and use, promote digital inclusion, and provide services to support the broadband access, adoption, and use, either one-on-one technical assistance and or information products. And we're going to address through these things some of the issues that my colleagues have been mentioning since the beginning of this presentation. One of the tools, and again, some of you may be familiar with this already, is our Broadband Adoption Toolkit. We put this together to share good ideas, provide a little guidance, and give you some tools that you can use. It was built based on work that many organizations like yours did during the Broadband Technology Opportunities Program, otherwise known as BTOP, which was a Recovery Act program that ended a couple of years ago, but through which many people did excellent work and provided some excellent examples. The toolkit is a couple of years old. We put it out in 2013, but we are currently updating it. It's one of many, as I said, many kinds of tools and services that we're trying to make accessible. And it does highlight, again, organizations like the ones that many of you represent. In terms of digital literacy, and particularly in terms of services for seniors, again, some of you may be familiar with digitalliteracy.gov, which is a website that's maintained by Broadband USA. Now, early on in this presentation, Heidi gave us a definition of digital literacy, and digitalliteracy.gov is intended to support not just, basic digital literacy, but also people moving on, because as Chike mentioned, it's never too old to learn. Digitalliteracy.gov was created through a collaboration of 10 federal agencies, and it provides access to information and tools about digital literacy and broadband use for all learners. And there's some stuff that's particularly useful for seniors, but it supports learners, providers, teachers, people putting programs together. And it contains information for beginners through more advanced users. And you'll find, and you'll see what I've provided here, that it points to numerous other resources and supports continuous lifelong learning. So building on my colleagues' presentations, I'm just sharing highlights of a few different types of resources that you can find using digitalliteracy.gov and the Broadband Opportunities Toolkit. DigitalLearn, which Steve just mentioned, is an excellent source of lessons for individuals, and it has associated with it a professional community of practice that is very useful for people who are doing the teaching and the training that you might find useful at all. I've also got, and you'll probably think, oh, these guys are all in cahoots because we're all talking about the same things. Excuse me. But that's because these are all very, very useful tools. So one that I would always suggest using is the one that Steve just mentioned, also with the LINCS Digital Literacy Initiatives. That, again, points to materials that are useful for learners, teachers, and program managers, people who are putting these things together. Consumer information, health information, lots of that is very, very applicable to working with seniors. So GCF Learn Free, which is actually sponsored by the Goodwill Foundation, is an excellent and widely known source that's used for all sorts of training, particularly technology training from the beginner to the more advanced, and contains lessons that are very, very good for working with older adults. Christina mentioned the Federal Trade Commission's consumer resource sites. The consumer information site is not a digital literacy site, but it is an information site that supports digitally literate behavior in using technology. Similarly, the National Institutes of Health have multiple sources of information, one of which I've mentioned here, and I have another one that I'm going to show you in a minute. This one contains materials that can be used by individuals as well as for teaching healthy behaviors and wellness with seniors. And then finally, just to wrap this up, I thought it might be useful to point to a few resources that really can be used by those of you who are running programs and or doing the training. So I mentioned the Broadband Adoption Toolkit, which is intended very much for people running programs, putting new programs together and or doing training. Steve mentioned the Minnesota Literacy Council. that site also has a lot of good material for trainers and teachers, curriculum, lesson plans, and that sort of thing. National Institutes of Health has a toolkit for trainers that helps older adults search for information online and provides a way to structure that search and give them instruction. And then finally, the Colorado State Library has created some training tools that will help you prepare your staff for working with any adults, but particularly with older adults. And they've got some technology trainer competencies as well as some other tools on that site. And again, these resource citations will be available later on. So I just want to thank you all for your time and attention and wrap this up by passing the microphone to Heidi and Steve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gwen, and we are right at time, but we want to let you know that there's so many more questions to ask and answers to get. We've seen a lot of activity in the chat room, and to let you know that we're going to continue the conversation on the LINCS platform. There's a community of practice there, and this conversation will be going on in the technology group. The URL is here and will be put in the chat window. So keep the conversation going, check out some of the resources, come back and tell your colleagues how it's going, what you found useful, and really do a deeper dive into those resources. And I wanted to thank all the panelists for working together and being in cahoots so that we can be efficient in our work to help you help seniors blaze a new trail online. Ben, I'm going to let you have the last word. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for everyone who's attended today, and another big thanks to our presenters in reverse order: Gwen, Steve, Sandy, Chike, Diana, Christina, and Heidi. It was really a great webinar. So I just want to ask you all to do one thing, which is I'm going to send, along with some resources, an evaluation. This in the chat. You can click on that link and fill it out with that provided info, and that's a big help to us. And so as a help to you, we are going to post this recording on YouTube, and when it's up, we really encourage you to share this around to your colleagues and anyone else. And not only that, everyone who's here today will receive an email list of the links and resources. We know there was a lot of them. There's a lot of good stuff there, and it's hard to, we don't expect you to remember it all, so we will be sending that out as well. So thanks again to you all, and thanks to our presenters. Have a great day.